My name is Scott Blaze, and today we're going to talk about something that might make some people uncomfortable. But it's absolutely necessary if you want to take control of your financial life. We're diving into 10 things poor people waste money on. And before we go any further, let me be clear, this episode is not about judgment. It's about awareness. It's about empowerment. Because if you don't know where your money is going, you'll never know why it's not staying. I grew up in a working-class neighborhood. My parents worked long hours. Yet money was always tight. It wasn't until much later in life, after studying finance, psychology, and the spending habits of different income groups, that I realized something shocking. Poverty isn't just about a lack of income. It's also about how that income is used. And more often than not, it's about financial habits that go unchecked for years. One of the most common things I've seen people spend excessively on is convenience. Fast food, takeout, delivery apps. I get it. When you're exhausted from work and life, the last thing you want to do is cook. But here's the trap. Spending $10 to $20 a few times a week adds up to thousands a year. That's money that could be invested, saved, or used to buy time through better tools or education. But it vanishes into fries, wrappers, and quick dopamine hits. The second item is name brand obsession. From clothes to electronics to coffee, there's a social pressure to buy what's trendy. I've watched people making minimum wage buy the newest iPhone on credit. Why? Because branding sells status. But what it really sells is debt. Financially secure people focus on value, not labels. They ask, will this item improve my life? Or just my image? Third, we've got subscription creep. It starts with Netflix, then Spotify, then a fitness app, a meditation app, an educational course you forgot about, a gaming platform, a monthly box you never open. Each one seems harmless. $5 here, $15 there, but together, they bleed you dry silently. Poor people often overlook small recurring costs until they become a burden. Wealthy people audit subscriptions regularly and cancel what doesn't produce value. Fourth, and this is a big one, lottery tickets and gambling. Scratch-offs, sports bets, casino nights. It's the illusion of hope. A quick escape. I've spoken to countless people who say, this might be my lucky day. But hope is not a financial strategy. Statistically, you're more likely to be struck by lightning than to win big. Every dollar spent on gambling is a dollar you could have used to build something real. Fifth, and this might surprise you, expensive celebrations. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. I've seen people borrow money to throw a party, to impress others, to not feel left out. But here's the truth, you don't need to go broke to feel joy. Some of the most meaningful moments I've had were free or low cost. Built around connection, not consumption. Now, before we get into the remaining 5 ways people waste money, let me pause and say, if you're finding this episode helpful, take a moment to like, comment, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the show. It's one small act that helps us keep bringing real talk and real tools to those ready to transform their finances. Thanks for supporting this mission. Number 6. Unnecessary fees. Bank overdraft fees, late payment fees, ATM charges, service fees for things you didn't need in the first place. Poor people often live in reactive mode, which means fees feel inevitable. But wealthy people set reminders, use fee-free accounts, and automate payments. They design their money systems to protect themselves from mistakes. 7th, buying cheap instead of buying smart. There's a difference. cheap clothes that fall apart, cheap appliances that break, cheap services that waste your time. The poor often try to save money up front and end up spending more in the long run. The wealthy think in terms of durability, return on investment, and long-term value. Sometimes, paying more once saves you from paying twice. 8th, new cars. This one hurts. I've seen people with unstable incomes take on car loans for vehicles they can't afford to maintain. All to feel successful. But a car is not a status symbol. It's a depreciating asset. Buying used, paying cash, and focusing on reliability is a smarter path. Don't let ego drive your finances. 9th, vices. Smoking, drinking, impulse shopping, online splurges. These aren't just bad for your wallet, they're bad for your health, your focus, and your future. When life feels hard, people reach for comfort, but the cost compounds, financially and emotionally. The solution isn't just willpower. It's replacing these habits with healthier ones that bring long-term fulfillment. Finally, number 10, ignoring financial literacy. This one is invisible but devastating. Poor people often say, "I'm just not good with money." But that mindset becomes a prison. There are free resources everywhere. Podcasts, books, videos, mentors. Choosing not to learn is choosing to stay stuck. The wealthy invest in knowledge because they know it multiplies everything else. So now that we've covered the 10 things poor people often waste money on, let's take it further. Let's talk about why these habits exist. Because understanding the root is the first step to change. Spending is emotional. It's tied to identity, insecurity, pain, and desire. Many people who struggle financially didn't grow up with examples of how to manage money. They grew up watching their parents stress over bills, buy in the moment, and live in survival mode. So naturally, that cycle repeats. We copy what we see. But here's the truth. You are not your past. And your history doesn't have to define your financial future. Every time you choose awareness over impulse, discipline over distraction, or learning over ignorance, you rewrite the story. Let's talk mindset. Poor people often think in terms of cost. Rich people think in terms of value. That shift changes everything. For example, if a book costs $20, a poor mindset might say, "That's too expensive." But a value-driven mindset says, "If I learn one thing that saves me $200, it was a bargain." The same applies to tools, courses, coaches, or anything that enhances your ability to earn, grow, or improve. Another mindset difference is time horizon. Poor people often focus on short-term gratification. They ask, "How can I feel good now?" The wealthy ask, "How will this affect me in 5 years?" That question alone can save you from 1,000 bad decisions. Let me give you a story. A man named Ray reached out to me years ago. He was in his early 30s, working 2 jobs, and still broke. He told me, "I can't save anything. Everything's too tight." I asked him to track his spending for 1 month. He resisted, said it would be depressing. I pushed him to do it anyway. A month later, we reviewed it together. Turns out he was spending over $300 a month on energy drinks, fast food, cigarettes, and lottery tickets. That blew his mind. He didn't feel like he was wasting money, but he was. Just slowly, and in ways he didn't notice. With that realization, he cut those things by half and redirected that money into paying down debt. 3 months later, he had his first emergency fund. A year later, he was investing. 2 years later, he was down to 1 job, and saving 15% of his income. Nothing changed except his awareness and his priorities. And that changed everything. Let's go back to those 10 habits. Because behind each one is a hidden belief. And when you shift that belief, the habit begins to fall away. Take convenient spending. The hidden belief might be, I don't have time to cook. But is that really true, or have you never learned to prep meals in under 20 minutes? Or name brand obsession. The belief might be, people will respect me more if I wear this. But ask yourself, do the people worth impressing actually care? Subscription creep? Maybe the belief is, I don't want to miss out. But what if the real wealth is in focus, not in consumption? When you replace those beliefs with better ones, like, my time is valuable, or, I can create comfort without going broke, or, I control my habits, you begin to gain power. This is why financial transformation is never just about budgeting. It's about identity. And the people who succeed financially are those who are willing to challenge their assumptions. So how do you go from wasting money to building wealth? Step 1. Awareness. Track every dollar. For 1 week, write it down. Don't change anything, just observe. Let the numbers tell you the truth. Step 2. Eliminate leaks. Cancel subscriptions you don't use. Stop buying things that bring short-term pleasure but long-term regret. Cut out the waste without cutting out joy. Step 3. Create friction. If you overspend online, remove your saved credit card info. If you buy takeout too often, leave your wallet at home during walks. Make it harder to spend mindlessly. Step 4. Replace. Don't just remove. Instead of buying fast food, learn 5 go-to recipes. Instead of scrolling and shopping, go for a walk or read. Fill the gap with something meaningful. Step 5. Reinvest the savings. Don't let the money sit idle. Put it into an emergency fund, a savings account, or an investing app. Let it start working for you. Let's talk about environment. Because your surroundings shape your spending more than you realize. If everyone around you is upgrading their phone, going out every weekend, or wearing designer brands, you'll feel pressure to do the same, even if it breaks your budget. That's not weakness. That's human nature. But here's the key: if you can't change your environment right away, change your inputs. Follow people online who talk about saving, building, investing. Listen to podcasts about money habits. Watch stories of people who turned their finances around. Saturate your brain with new models. Because what you feed your mind reshapes what you normalize. I once worked with a woman named Amina who used to think wealth was only for people with high-paying jobs. She worked in retail and thought she'd never get ahead. But after she immersed herself in financial content, joined a savings challenge, and started reading every night instead of binge-watching TV, her thinking changed. Within 6 months, she had saved her first $1. Then she started reselling thrifted clothes online. That became her side hustle. She wasn't rich, but she was no longer helpless. And that's the first milestone: power. When you stop feeling like money controls you, and you start feeling like you're in the driver's seat. Let's talk about the hidden cost of wasted money: regret. I've sat across the table from countless people who said, if only I had started earlier, or if only I had paid attention sooner. And here's the truth: those words come from pain, from time lost, from goals delayed. But the good news? You don't have to live there. You can draw a line in the sand today, and begin again. And if you're already doing okay but want to level up, then it's time to optimize. Don't just ask, what am I wasting money on? Ask, what am I under-leveraging? Could your knowledge be monetized? Could your space be rented? Could your time be more valuable elsewhere? Wealthy people aren't just better earners, they're better allocators. They constantly ask, is this the best use of my money? My time? My energy? That's the mindset that multiplies results. Let's wrap this up with a challenge. For the next 30 days, choose one of the 10 wasteful habits we talked about today. Just one. Track it, audit it, replace it, and see what changes. Maybe you cancel 3 subscriptions and save $45. Maybe you cook at home and save $100. Maybe you quit impulse spending and put that money into savings. It won't make you rich overnight, but it will make you powerful. And power compounds. Remember, no one becomes wealthy by accident. It's always the result of intentional choices, repeated consistently. Over time, the habits you ignore today will cost you tomorrow, but the habits you build today will bless you for decades. So start small, stay consistent, and never stop learning. You've got this. Let's go even deeper now, because if we want to break the cycle of wasteful spending, we have to talk about identity. People don't spend money purely based on logic. They spend based on who they believe they are. If you see yourself as broke, as someone who never gets ahead, then your behavior will match that script. You'll spend like a person with no future, because you don't believe you have one. But when you start seeing yourself as a builder, a student of wealth, a creator of options, your habits begin to shift. You start to act in alignment with your future, not your fears. And that's when transformation begins. Every time you say no to a purchase that doesn't serve your goals, you're reinforcing that new identity. Every time you save instead of spend, every time you read instead of scroll, every time you learn instead of escape, you're telling your brain, this is who I am now. Your financial breakthrough is not in some secret hack. It's in your daily decisions. It's not about deprivation, it's about direction. And when you find the right direction, money starts to flow differently. Opportunities appear, doors open, and you're ready for them, because you've done the work internally. Let me give you one last story. There was a man named Carlos the first worked with during a community finance workshop. He'd grown up in poverty, dropped out of school, and spent years bouncing between jobs. He had every reason to give up, but he didn't. He showed up to every session, notebook in hand. He asked questions. He tracked his spending. He started budgeting on paper. By the end of the program, he had paid off $2 in debt. He had saved $800 for emergencies. And most importantly, he had confidence. Not because someone gave him money, but because he realized he could control what he did with it. That's the kind of victory no one can take away. And that's what I want for you. Not just more money, more control, more purpose, more peace. Because that's what financial freedom really is. It's the ability to choose your life. To choose rest. To choose generosity. To choose growth. So today, decide what kind of person you want to become. Then use your money like that person would. That's how you break the cycle. And that's how you build a new one. Now let's shift into strategy mode. Because once you've stopped the financial bleeding, the next step is building a solid foundation. Let's start with the budget. Not the boring spreadsheet kind that makes you feel trapped. I'm talking about a freedom budget, a plan that aligns your money with your values. Every dollar gets a job. Essentials first: housing, food, transportation, health, then priorities, debt repayment, savings, investments, finally, values, giving, fun, growth. When you give every dollar a purpose, you stop wondering where it went. You tell it where to go. Next, build your emergency fund. Even if you can only save $5 a week. Do it. Emergencies will come, and when they do, your fund becomes your shield. It keeps you from falling back into debt, from panicking, from spiraling. The peace of knowing you're prepared is priceless. Third, automate everything you can. Savings transfers, bill payments, investing. Remove decision fatigue. Set it up once and let the system work for you. Rich people don't rely on discipline alone. They build systems that make success the default. Fourth, increase your income. Cutting expenses is important, but there's a limit. Earning more creates margin. Learn new skills. Offer services. Build a side hustle. Use your evenings and weekends not just for rest, but for resurrection. Resurrect your options, your confidence, your financial future. Fifth, track your net worth. Once a month. Assets minus liabilities. It doesn't matter if you're starting at -$20. What matters is that you watch it shift. Progress is power. Even a $100 increase means you're moving forward. Finally, surround yourself with people who speak the language of growth. Join communities. Read books. Watch interviews. Listen to voices that challenge your limits. Because poverty is not just financial, it's often social. You need to hear new conversations if you want to live a new life. And as you take these steps, remember, this journey is not linear. There will be setbacks, mistakes, emotional days. That's okay. What matters is that you don't quit, that you keep choosing the path of ownership. You may have wasted money in the past, but you are not your past. You are your decisions today. You are your vision for tomorrow. You are your discipline in the dark. And that is enough. Let me leave you with a principle that changed my life, and the lives of every financially successful person I've worked with. It's called the ownership principle. It means, I take full responsibility for everything in my control, and I stop giving power to excuses, blame, or fear. The moment you adopt this mindset, you become unstoppable. Because when you take ownership, you stop waiting for the government, your employer, your parents, or the economy to save you. You stop asking for permission to build a better life. You start using what you have, however small, to take your next step. You realize no one is coming to rescue you, but you don't need a rescuer. You need a reason to change, a reason to fight, a reason to get back up when life knocks you down. For some people, that reason is their children. For others, it's the desire to break a generational curse. For some, it's the hunger to live free, to never again feel trapped by debt, anxiety, or lack. Whatever your reason is, let it burn bright. Let it guide your spending, your saving, your strategy. Let it become the compass that points you toward every financial decision. Because every time you say no to waste and yes to wealth, you move closer to that reason. So here's your final challenge. Print the list of the 10 wasteful habits. Circle the one that's costing you the most. Write down the belief behind it. Then write a new belief to replace it. And every day for the next 30 days, act in alignment with that new belief. Watch what happens. Watch how your confidence grows. Watch how your bank account shifts. Watch how your self-image transforms. That's the beginning of financial freedom. Not the lottery, not luck, just clarity, ownership, and consistent action. You don't need more money to start making better decisions. You just need the truth. And now you have it. So go live it. This has been Scott Blaze. Stay sharp, stay intentional, and whatever you do, stop wasting and start building. Before we close, I want to remind you, wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how well you manage what you have. There are millionaires who go broke, and there are modest earners who retire comfortably. The difference? Habits, mindset, awareness. So whether you're starting with $10 or $10, the path forward is the same. Respect your money. Give it direction. Use it as a tool to build the life you want. Because every dollar is a decision, and every decision creates your destiny. Choose wisely, and never forget, you're more powerful than you think. Every financial turnaround begins with honesty. Radical, uncomfortable, no more excuses honesty. What am I spending on that doesn't serve me? What am I afraid to look at? What story am I telling myself that keeps me broke? Answer those questions. Sit with them. And from that place of clarity, move forward. Not perfectly, but persistently. Because freedom isn't found in someday. It's built in the choices you make today.